Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics, and today we've got a fun one. This began as a reveal on one of Hall Yaz's live streams where Hagan Lettuce Comics pulls out this dollar bin book that he found called The Ferret. Well, I laughed so hard. I've never laughed so hard in my life, and everybody that was on the live stream laughed too. So it got me to thinking, I have to do this. Sure enough, I went to, and they had every issue of the series from the 1993 series. So, of course, I bought them. What amazes me is that there's more to the Ferret than just this little series. So today, thanks to Nate at Hall Comics and Hagan at Lettuce Comics, we are going to explore the history of the Ferret, and we're going to see some of the books that the Ferret is in, and most importantly, we are going to go out there and push. We need a Ferret movie because this character is actually not too. He's the type of character that would actually make a good movie. So let's without further ado, let's get on to the Ferret, who he is and what he does. The Ferret actually had a golden age presence. The Ferret was created in 1942 and made his first appearance in a book called Man of War Comics Issue 2. In this initial adventure, and I kid you not, he goes to war against a gang who steals milk. Now, granted, it's 1942 and maybe milk was more important. But the fact is, he's literally going after people who are stealing trucks of milk. In these original appearances, he only made 4, and none of them in the same book. He was in 3 other books besides Man of War Comics, and he made 1 appearance in all of them. By the way, this is Centaur Comics that put out Man of War 2. Okay? The creator of the Ferret is lost to history. Nobody knows who actually created it because apparently it was one of those little Iger shop type dealies where they just gave out, stories as required by people. So no one really knows who created the Ferret. And in these original stories, the Ferret had a half mask with little ears and looked like a ferret. Like he actually, from here up, looked like a ferret, and he had a cape because his original powers were 2. He had super strength and he could fly. Don't ask me why a ferret can fly, but he could fly. In these adventures, he was Cal Dalton. That was his secret identity. And he was the police commissioner of an unknown city. They don't reveal what the city is, at least in the first story. That is basically all the information I could find about the Golden Age Ferret, other than maybe like the 3 books, the 3 other books he was in. I could probably get those and put them in. Maybe I'll do an update later and with an edit and throw those in. But what we're really here for is the Ferret books from the 1990s from Mirage Comics. The Ferret was updated by R.A. Jones as the writer and creator of the new Ferret. Things were done a little differently with the new Ferret. Okay, as I said, Malibu Comics had this. And yes, the current copyright for the Ferret because it is owned by Marvel Comics because they own Malibu. So if we're going to get a Ferret movie, we're going to have to ask it to be in the MCU, most likely. Or at the very least, something separate like the Sony deal. But trust me, a Ferret movie would be awesome. Cal Denton discovered, Cal Dalton discovered at the age of 18 that he had superhuman abilities. And he began to fight crime, but he got a reputation of being extremely violent. What he doesn't know, apparently, is that the government gave him his powers. And he begins as a member of a super team called the Protectors. And this is where I'm going to interject here. If you've seen my video about Impact Comics, we have a similar situation here. Malibu around this time was trying to do this team of heroes called the Protectors, and then books around that. So similar to these Impact Comics DC tried to do around that same time frame. They were trying to have books that tied into each other so they could get sales and more money and all this stuff out of it. Malibu at 93, 94 was probably at the height of their sales, and they quickly went downhill not long after. I'd say 5 or 6 years after this period, Malibu was ended up being bought by Ike Perlmutter for Marvel Comics. The powers that Cal Denton discovered he had was that all his senses were enhanced to animal levels. In terms of by animal levels, I mean like how like animals have enhanced smell and hearing compared to a human, that kind of thing. He also had enhanced strength, so not quite super strength, but enhanced strength, enough to break through a wall if necessary. And and his agility enhanced. And in this way, he's very similar to Timberwolf of the Legion of Superheroes. But the key part is there is no flight in this version of the Ferret, and he has a psychologically damaging streak of violence to him. He was originally the police commissioner at one point of Washington D.C., and he was fired from there for using excessive violence. So that's your origin, okay? In terms of the Ferret. As Cal Denton, he is a lounge singer. Not the lounge singer in the Frank Sinatra void, but more like the I strum an acoustic guitar and I'm very pouty and I get all the girls kind of lounge singer. So we begin with the Ferret one shot. And this was the book, by the way, that was shown by Lettuce Comics that absolutely had us bursting out of laughter that he found in a dollar bin. And to be honest, none of these books cost me more than $2.25 US each. Cost me more to ship them than it cost me to buy the 11 books I'm about to show. In this book, we discover that he is actually based in Washington, D.C., and he is one of the rarities of the superhero world where he smokes and he drinks. A lot of them, like Batman. I mean, Golden Age Batman smoked a pipe, and drank wine, but the current Batman doesn't. Superman doesn't. Like, none of them smoke anymore. Smoking is passe. So, but this was 1993. So, the book begins with him fighting a bunch of ninjas who have killed his best friend, Tommy Singh. After becoming a target of a grenade, which he manages to evade, he is confronted by a character called the Iron Skull, and a fight breaks out. The Iron Skull, it turns out, is a cyborg, and the Ferret loses the battle. The guy on the cover here is the big bad of the book. Okay? He runs an organization called the Purple Dragon, and his name is Tai Chung. Tai Chung. So he manages to find the headquarters of the Purple Dragon and break in through the wall. That's why I said earlier he was strong enough to break through a wall. Discovers that the Iron Skull is there and asks for a one on one combat. The Tai Chung grants this and even tells him that if he pulls the right cyborg plug off him, he could end up taking away the control that Tai Chung has over the Iron Skull. So the fight begins. And after about a few pages of the fight in there, naturally the ferret manages to remove the control device, and he tries to kill. And the Iron Skull then tries to kill Tai Chung. All this in like 25 pages. Naturally, Tai Chung is the typical leader of the thing, and he runs away and escapes. So the Iron Skull and the Ferret are left literally fighting 100 ninjas, which of course they win the fight. Cal goes crazy as the Ferret, and with his violence, and he manages to take care of the problems. And then at the end, we see that Cal is a performing singer, and he runs a little jazz festival type thing in honor of his friend Tommy, who was apparently his drummer in the band they were in together before they became the Ferret and all this other stuff. And that is the Ferret one shot. It is interesting. No one has a mullet like this guy. Because look at this. This is the Ferret one of the regular series. And the book is actually shaped in that 90s shape of the Ferret's head. And this picture here, doesn't the Ferret look happy? So we've got Ferret number 1 here. Okay. The book opens with the Ferret fighting a gang of people and holding a guy over the edge of a roof. When the other guys with the gun by his dares him to let him go, he does because he's a psycho little bum. And so because he's a psycho little bum, and he lets him go, and sure enough, he hits the ground. They're not high enough for it to kill him, but it breaks the legs of the guy when he hits the ground. Cut to a hospital. This is the first cut scene in the book, where a person is laying in a coma for over a year. He wakes up, and the first thing he asks is where the Ferret is. The character that wakes up, for lack of a better phrase, looks like a Skrull from the Fantastic Four. He kills the orderly that is there and escapes from the hospital, yelling, "I want to kill the Ferret. I want to kill the Ferret." Meanwhile, the Ferret is performing. Cal does his performance. He notices this woman sitting in the front row, and apparently the Ferret is a bit of a ladies' man. As in, love 'em and dump 'em. Kind of ladies' man. After all, this is 1993. So, he goes to have a conversation with this lady. Just as the Skrull being breaks into the club looking for the Ferret. Turns out that the woman is an adventurer herself, and she actually joins into the fight. But the Ferret grabs the Ferret ends up grabbing the evil guy and getting him outside for the fight. You never see the Ferret change clothes in this scene, but somehow he's in his fighting uniform from literally from one panel to the next. Well, it turns out the name of the villain in this book is Toxin. And he leaves the Ferret for dead because what his secret power is that he can hit somebody, slice, and, poison enters their system. We discover, though, that the Ferret doesn't die right away like normal humans because of his ferret abilities. They keep him alive. And that's where this book ends. Now, for the rest of the 10 books of the series, I'm just going to show the covers. I did read them all, but I want to encourage you to go out and read them, because actually the thing that surprised me after the cheesy little start was that the Ferret books actually were a decent story if read all in one shot, because you get all the information you need slowly. You find out, like, the woman's name is Midnight Blue. You find out that, she's actually been hired by the government. And so was Toxin was created by the government. Here's Ferret number 2. As you can see, like it says right on the cover, Toxin left him for dead. Now Ferret's out to return the favor. You get to see a lot of the Ferret being the Ferret, in the sense that he's a psychotic little bastard. But one of the things that you discover as you keep reading these books, this was Ferret number 3. As you keep reading these books, you find that you do have to get the full 100% of the story. You do have to get some of the Protector books and some of the other books. This is number 4 from the Malibu line at this time. Ferret number 5. There was a crossover thing called Genesis that affected the 4 or 5 titles that Malibu had at the time. And you needed to have, like Crisis, you needed to have them all. This is number 6. And here we have number 7. What I find interesting is they don't mention that he's the former commissioner of Washington, D.C. until later in the run. And by the way, most of the books from issue 2 to issue 8, I believe, have a centerfold poster. So if you don't have the poster, you don't have a complete copy. And an interesting note about the Protectors. For those that like Golden Age books, and especially if you happen to be on Alan's Kickstarter and know that the character Miss Fury actually ends up a member of the Protectors in the books. It's Ferret 9. And this cover, number 10, this is the calling the quote that the Ferret always says, "Everyone dies, sweetheart." That's his battle cry, so to speak. Here's the Ferret 10. Now, one thing you discover over the course, the Ferret is a violent man who kills. But as long as he's a member of the Protectors, he's taken an oath not to kill. Well, by issue 9, he's no longer a member of the Protectors, so he starts killing off in the last couple issues. But the important thing is the Ferret is actually pretty okay. It's for what I paid for it, it was a good read. I wouldn't pay like $5, $6 a book. But if you can get these in a dollar bin, I really think you should, because for 5-10 minutes, whatever it takes you to read the issue, you're going to laugh a little bit and snicker. Mostly because he's got a cheesy, he's got this cheesy mullet. He's got some of the silliest villains you've ever seen. And they keep making back. And there's this underlying storyline where the government wants to kill him at the same time. Or at least one of the generals. that's in charge of him. So you've got all this stuff going on, and it's just actually it's not bad. Anyway, the writer for the entire series was R.A. Jones, and most of the art was done, pencils was done by Zachary. What the heck was his first name? Dean Zachary. And the inks were done by a person by the name of Ken Branch. So, once again, the Ferret is hilarious. If you liked the content, please like, subscribe, and comment below. I particularly am interested in comments about what your impressions of the Ferret is, because honestly, I would love to see a Ferret movie. It seems like it's just cheesy enough superhero wise that they could do just about anything on the screen and have a fun movie. And the fact that this guy has the mullet from, you know, the mullet from Heck, and in this particular cover even looks a little like Sabretooth, makes it a little more interesting than it may suggest at the beginning. Thank you very much, Nathan Hagan, for introducing me to this character. This has been an absolute, probably one of the most fun videos I've had researching, and especially when I found out he had a Golden Age ferret. Okay, for the research and the reading, I probably had the most fun doing this video. So I hope you enjoyed this one. As I said, please comment below on what you think of the ferret. And if you have any Ferret books or plan on getting any, let us know too, because I'm going to hashtag my videos, hashtag Ferret for a little while. And I would love to see other people do the same out there. Anyway, my name is Matt, and I like comics. And I hope you do too. Have a good one.